Good morning. We're here at the Road to Glory, and today we're at the home of the Olivers. Thank you for having us here. We feature today the Oliver family because they are unique and special. We memorialize the great Midge Oliver, and Bob Oliver and Mandy Oliver will give us reflections on Midge Oliver's career through your eyes. So Bob, I met you guys way back at Botanical Gardens in the 70s. You were running with Mac. Take us through the early days of Midge's running and yourself.
My running started, I guess, my interest in running started way back in I came to the island in 1970, and I missed 24th of May that year, but in 71 I remember watching the race. I remember seeing Cal Bean, the great Cal Bean, running through flats, and I saw these slower guys. I thought it was kind of interesting that they're there. And the next year I didn't run it, and I saw Hansi, the legendary Calvin Hansi running, and again the slower guy. I thought I could definitely do this, so that's how it kind of got me.
So you were a runner before you arrived in Bermuda?
Not really, I played tennis and football and stuff, but so that's how I got started.
And where did you grow up? And sort of get the perspective of your background, because I've known you for years, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, so football was king.
Yeah, and Midge, she was from Aberdeen as well, though we didn't meet, we met over here.
You met over here, so didn't know each other till you got to Bermuda. Where did you meet?
At a party. She chased me down. So, and then she got into running. I remember starting her running. I was fancying myself as a good runner. I said, "You can run with me, but I'll be much too fast for you."
So this is your first date? You go on a run?
No. So we ran along South Shore, and I'm thinking, Midge will be miles back. I would run a couple of miles, and she's right on my shoulder. So she got into it. She wasn't one of the great runners, but she was very determined, strong, and a good athlete. So.
Now, the running scene, the running community then is a little different than it is now. Women coming into running now in a big way. What's it like back then, those early years?
Well, 24th of May was completely different in those days than it is now. It was, if you ran 24th of May, you were somebody special. It seemed like the average person in the street didn't realise that running a half marathon wasn't that exceptional. But in those days, no women did it. And the first year I ran it, there was maybe about 40, 50 people, and including the great Stanley Burgess.
Oh, yes.
And as I told Steve a little story on him, we used to run, when he ran from Somerset, we used to run a couple of laps of the field, but Stanley didn't always have to, he didn't have to do that. He would run straight out the gate. So going along the road.
It's special privileges. He used to run number one. So
That's
number
right.
one, you can do what you want.
Going along the road, people would say, "Oh, you let that old man beat you." He didn't run all the distance I did.
So the early years, the numbers are small.
Yeah.
Water. I've heard stories, no water?
No water. The race would start 11:30. No water stops. You were told you were disqualified if you took water.
So how did you prepare for that? What did you do? Just fill up the tank in your body?
I don't remember.
You didn't remember. You just survived.
Yeah. We didn't train like we did now, for sure.
So how many races do you have under your belt before Midge runs her first one? Because actually women aren't allowed to run. The gender equity wasn't in place.
Sister Marinette,
Yeah.
she ran the year we ran to St David's, which was a long haul. It was about 15 miles, I guess, and I was injured. I had a terrible race. But Marinette ran that year, and she was the first woman to run. And I think the next year, or 2 years later, it opened up, and Debbie Butterfield ran it. And the year after that, it opened up a lot more, and Midge and a lot of other people ran it.
A lot of controversy with that particular day, May 24th. We're talking now about Midge getting into it, and the ladies. The race has a lot of history and a lot of controversy associated with it. But you're there in those early years. You're having fun. The fans are cheering you.
Yeah.
I see you at the MAC fun runs, yourself and Midge. What were those days like? Because I think your daughter comes into the equation later, and she enjoys running down it. What were those early days of running in Bermuda?
Well, the time Max had started at the time there was this explosion of interest in running worldwide, it seemed like, and Max sort of fed off this, and they started these 2 mile runs at Botanical Gardens.
Fun runs, they call
them. And they became very popular and very competitive. That was your speed work for the week when you do that 2 miler. Yeah.
I'm going to move over to you, Mandy. Your parents are these iconic figures. I'm going there to the botanical gardens. What's the inspiration for you? Your mom is this runner who's running around. Your dad's chasing her.
I always liked it when my mom beat my dad. I remember those races especially. Yeah, they were always running. So when I was younger, I was definitely started on the running scene. I'm not sure I quite had the bug like these two did, but when I was younger, for sure, always kind of doing the kids races, got into triathlons, definitely did the fun runs some of the time. I remember that 2-miler up T Street.
So there's no pressure from your parents for you to get involved. You're just watching them and you're inspired.
I think I
he pressured me a bit, but I mean, I think my friends were doing it. I was sporty. I was definitely sporty, but I definitely was strongly encouraged to do cross countries. You know, high school cross countries, the races at school. The
Christmas gift you get. Christmas gift you get a pair of running shoes.
Yeah, probably. I wanted a puppy and I got running shoes.
You ran with Pacers.
I ran with Pacers twice a week. Did the track meets. So yeah, I definitely Front Street miles every year, all throughout.
And you went away with Pacers to rally.
Yeah, went away. So definitely did a lot through my younger and into
in fitness. In fitness, I'm in the fitness industry. I've been a personal trainer. One of the things we've noted through the years, if the child watches the parent, they're more likely to enjoy an activity. There's no stress, there's no pressure. So you see a parent's doing something and they're having fun, they're inclined to follow. If folks say about training, it's not training per se, it's just I'm just following my parents, and then they just grow into it. So I think you did the same.
Yeah, definitely. We used to always have these loops around the house where Dad would maybe finish his long run and then we would do one together. We would have races where maybe he would get a head start and then one of us would get a certificate presentation depending on
oh my gosh.
who won the little 2-mile or 1-mile loop around the house. So yeah.
So we go back to May 24th. Midge Oliver has set a mark out there. Now, Bob, you are the statistician. What sort of numbers of races have you determined that Midge and yourself, now I think she has the edge on you. Give me the details.
I was very disappointed. I've done a lot of work the last couple of days, but through all the results and ever since 1973 when I started. And I always tell people I'd done 30, but I'd actually only done 30. I'm really disappointed. The Midge did 38, never missed a year. That's the amazing
missed a year.
Thing. She started off in 78 and finished in 2015. Yeah.
Our favorite was she ran, I was born end of February and she ran that May. So, less than 3 months later.
Don't want to miss it.
No. Dr. Harvey was a doctor and she said to the doctor, can I run 24th of May? He said no. And she said, oh, come on. He said, one condition, you don't beat me. So if I come to Birdhouse Hill and there she sees him and she passes him in Birdhouse Hill.
Amazing. So what's the preparation for May 24th like in the household?
Oh, we were pretty serious in those days because we were running marathons as well, so we did quite a lot of miles. We were running every day, sometimes twice a day. I once ran an 80-mile week, and Midge probably did 60 or 70 from time to time. Yeah.
I always remember when Mom would finish her long run, we had these steps up the back of the house, and it'd be like, Mom's back from her run, go get her water, and she'd just be sitting up there. It'd be the middle of the day. She wasn't an early morning runner. It was like she'd go in the heat, and I'd have to get her water up there to her, and she'd just be completely drenched in sweat, exhausted after these long runs.
Amazing career. My reference points across the island, events I've seen her. I've talked to you about the relay. The nurses had a group, Jane Christie, Maria Conroy Hayden, Midge Oliver, and someone else, which I can't remember, and they dominated the running scene. And then we think back to the princess to princess races and other races, and Bob, I made a comment earlier, you chased me up that princess to princess. So you guys ran all the races that were around?
There weren't so many races way back then, so each race was kind of special, you'd look forward to the princess, and then I don't know if there was much, maybe something else, and then there's 24th of May and a relay, and then there was a BTFA half marathon later in the year. And one thing I was going to say, I noticed the Mike Rickers ran that first one way back in 76 or something, and he's still running. It's unbelievable. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
And cross country, I think your family has an affection for cross country running. Tell us about some of those races, because I also believe that you ran overseas, and Sid Howard said you come up to Van Cortlandt Park.
We used to run Van Cortlandt. I loved Van Cortlandt. I really did. We ran it quite a few times. Yeah.
Let's look at some of the cross-country races here. You remember those races?
The one I always remember most of all is the one from Robert Crawford School and through the Arboretum, and then you got down to where Waterton Waterworks is, and you run through the marsh there, and they used to be really, really muddy, and you had to try to balance on this pipe, and if you fell off the pipe, you're right into the mud.
I just remember if you showed up in really nice shoes from the International Sports Shop, that was not the day to wear them.
And you went along Vesey Street and you took a sharp left up the hill, and at the top of the
Gully Hill,
you knew where to go. People were getting lost all the time. Clive Long was around there organising these things.
Gully Hill is referred to. My experience there was I was ahead of Jim Butterfield. How I got ahead of him, I don't know. And he said, "Come on, Stevie, get out of the way." I was slowing it up, but it was only one person at a time.
That's right.
So Van Cortlandt Park, how did that happen? How did you guys manage to race overseas?
I don't know how it first of all happened. I don't know how I'd heard about it. We just used to go up to New York occasional weekend. Maybe it was coincidence that it happened to be let's try this thing. And I really loved Van Cortlandt. It was hilly, through the woods, up and down, or kind of rural setting with, and it was really good. Midge liked it too.
I did it.
I
did it once, but I
once.
only did one lap because it was a longer race. But I did do it once with them. But I remember cross countries even. Up until a few years ago, I ran one with Mom up at Fort Scour. It must have been, she was still doing them up until a few years ago. And we did the Fort Scour course together.
Didn't she run into something happened?
You ran into a bush?
A course injury.
Well, cross country, I mean, the accuracy of the course, it's not important. It's just the enjoyment, and you stumble, you fall. I think they took Spittle Pond out of the equation because a lot of folks were twisting ankles, and they said some kids went missing. They didn't want them falling off the cliffs.
Oh gosh.
Mandy once won the inter-schools cross country. Nobody knows this. She was they came in 2-year blocks, and some years she was up against Flora Duffy and the Whitter girls, but in the other year she was on her own. So over at
Hog
Bay level, she actually won. That was pro, but the results never went into the paper.
I heard the name Flora Duffy. What a reference point, right? You always got to get those markers.
Yeah.
Bob, I think I saw in your scrapbook, and you have a fantastic scrapbook. I've never seen anything like it. You beat the great Gary Bajorklin.
He came. I'm not sure why he was in Bermuda. He was an absolute top American marathoner, and he ran the fun run, and he was just jogging it. And as it came to the gate, I sprinted past it and beat Gary.
Take it when you can. I think my mate Mark Oldboy beat the great Henry Rono. And Rono, after he retired, Oldboy says, "You got to beat him when you can." So we look back at the career of yourself, Midge, Mandy, the running community. What I like about it, we're all family. And we all share these experiences, and I see Midge as like a fabric in the community. And so this marker that she said, how many again consecutively? 38. So that mark is going to sit there because you have to do it consecutive. And someone's running now, they can't miss a year, even through pregnancy.
George Jones did something similar.
George's at 45.
Done more, but
he says at 45.
He was kind of walking, which still counted, I guess.
Yeah. But those are markers that we will record in the annals of Bermuda sporting history, markers that are going to just sit there because you have to do it consecutively. When we look at the victories, Ed Sherlock, 5 consecutive. Kevin Smith has that, so does Chris Estwanick. But once you miss a year, you've got to go back and start again. And Ed Sherlock always reminds me of that.
Carl Bean won 5 or 6. I don't know if they were
consecutive. The word is consecutive, and that's where Midge has that marker.
I just think the determination she must have had to do that every single year. It's easy to make excuses, and she just never made them.
No injuries?
She must have been pretty strong that way, because I used to get injured. She didn't,
Yeah, just determined always. That's how I would always think of her running style. She never complained, never, she would say things were tough, but she was just always determined and would always do races.
Yeah, that's amazing, because usually an athlete, just through the nature of the sport or nature of life, you're going to have an injury. And it's going to not allow. And if you overtrain, something will happen just prior to May 24th. My buddy Jay Donovan stepped off a curb right before May 24th, the week of May 24th one year. He was in great shape, and these things,
I know Debbie Butterfield was really shocked that Midge ran across country up at Robert Crawford, like when she was 8 months pregnant. It was the rain was pouring out, it was a slippery course, and Debbie said, "You can't run." Midge ran.
No, when we reflect now, we're looking at the things that build a legacy. And you've been inspired. Tell us about something you have on your horizon, Mandy.
Yeah, so this year I'm going to run my first half marathon derby, so in honor of my mom. So I used to do a lot of running when I was younger, but I must say it's been a hiatus. I have done one half marathon before, but I definitely don't run as much as my parents did in their 30s. But yeah, so I'm going to do it this year. So training is well underway.
So this is your coach right here?
Yeah.
No.
He gives me.
Her husband is.
No, together it's nice, and it's
Well,
been.
I'll give it a few words.
And it's been good because it's fun looking over all the times from my mom over there. That's what my dad and I pulled together all these times. Well, mainly dad, and looking back, okay, she ran her first race in 1:55.
Oh my gosh, we've got a marker to go after. Oh dear.
I don't know about that, but we'll see. But obviously she went on to go much faster than that. But yeah, it's definitely
Her
inspired.
best was 1:35.
Yeah.
1:35.
It's
Yeah.
But she done a 1:30 up in New York.
Sure.
Yeah.
What sort of tips will you give Mandy going into May 24th? Because it's a special day. It has its challenges.
Well, I've told her she should try running in the heat to get used to it. Don't always try it in the evening, and try and get some runs in the heat. You've got to get some, build up the long runs so you're comfortable running 8 or 10.
Yeah.
Do some speed work as well, do some fast runs. Just mix it all up.
Great advice. That heat factor, that's the one that usually causes lots of trouble for folks.
Yeah.
You can train in the early morning, you can train late in the evening, but that run is run in the heat of the day. And they've moved the start slightly now, but it's still going to be warm as you're coming to the finish. So I'm going to wish you well. This is going to be a great marker.
Never really, like Peter Lever, who was a great runner and runs a lot of stuff in Bermuda, never really could handle the heat. He never did well on 24th of May.
But you said you used to purposely run in your lunch hour on hot days to make sure that you were prepared. Yeah.
I've studied, one of my little views on that is corporate executives tend to do well on that day. They go out on their lunch hour and they prepare, and I look at the results. I said, look at them, they're all towards the top of the list. But that's because they're acclimating. So you're getting great advice there. What's your longest run to date?
In this set of training, just 8 miles.
8 miles. So what will you get up to? What are you going to try to attempt?
I'll try to do the 13 before the race.
Okay. Now, Bob, what's your theory on that? Because I've heard over the years folks that they go and run the course ahead of time. You've heard those stories. What's your feelings on that?
Well, I think it's okay to run the course, yeah. I don't think I ever did it because I knew what the course was. I don't remember if I ran it.
So this year it's coming down from Somerset. They've gone to the other option now.
That's the way it should be. That's the legendary.
That's a legendary course. Now, thinking back to your career, you ran from Somerset. What other routes did you?
I ran to Somerset.
Ran from Hamilton to Somerset. So Bermuda, we say going up to Somerset and coming down and going down to St. George's. What's the rationale behind that?
I don't know. I ran the worst one was went to St. David's once. That was
so from the stadium to St. David's?
St. David's, yeah. That was a tough one.
So that route took you through Middle Road. I'm trying to think how tough that. So you got tough in Bailey's Bay, because coming out of St. George's, that's where the hills are now, Bailey's Bay. But St. David's, you found that one tough.
It was when you turned up over after the bridge and you headed into St. David's. It just seemed to go on and on and on. You kept thinking, this corner, this is the last one, and there's another one and another one.
And you had no water.
I don't know if it was
that's probably the factor too.
The waters did start after the first 2 or 3 years, I guess.
And the motorbikes, were the motorbikes around in your early days?
Yes, they were. You had somebody, a coach, who went with you on his bike.
Okay, and the fumes, because the bikes were.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I was further back.
So you got all the fumes.
Didn't get so many fumes for us.
Yeah, I heard the strategy back then, like Cal Hansen, you get to the front, all the bikes gather behind you, and if you're in second place, you won't catch me.
Hansi was a legend in those days. A lot of people who are listening to this probably don't know him at all, but he really was.
Give me some of your views on Hansi, because you seem to have.
It was just, I still respect what he did. You know, there was these stories about how he used to train on Ocean View Golf Course in his army boots, and then one time he ran the 24th of May race, and then he had turned around afterwards, had to go back to work, so he ran all the way back the other direction. It just seemed like awesome to me. You know? So I was a big fan of his. And then after he moved away, the race reached some really good stages when you had some really good runners all together, a really good bunch. Jeff Payne, Peter Lever, Gary Wilkinson, Carl Bean, Ray Swan, Leon Matthews, all good guys.
And Mike Watson, don't leave out Mike Watson.
Well, Mike was a little
He was
bit
coming later? Okay.
He was a little later, I think, than these guys.
He's my rival. He wants his place on the stage. Now, Cal Hensey ran 1:15, which is a remarkable time coming out of his era.
Yeah. He ran a marathon
In a marathon in New York, 8th
2:30,
place. That's right, 8th
2:32
place, New York City Marathon.
Yeah.
So his stuff is legendary.
Yeah.
Anyone else you think back who, in your early years, or I mean, you mentioned Stanley Burgess.
Well, there was the other guys, Ray Ming, McGuinness, Luby.
And those early years was only a few of you.
And Alan Hathaway.
And Alan Hathaway, yeah.
And the Ellsworth and
Jew Boy Smith.
Yeah.
Hey Bermuda, May is Heritage Month, and the Department of Culture has a full slate of events happening to celebrate Bermuda's culture and heritage. And after a 2-year absence, we're excited to see the return of one of the most anticipated events of the year, the Bermuda Day Parade. On May 27th, we can't wait to celebrate with you. So visit communityandculture.bm and download your copy of the full Heritage Month calendar. There's something there for everyone. This is a message from the government of Bermuda.
Over here reflecting on the road to glory with Bob Oliver. Bob, we're looking back at some of those early years and some of those runners that come to mind. We mentioned Stanley Burgess. Anyone else?
Well, Ray Ming, Alan Hathaway, Ellsworth was Ellsworth.
Yeah. Jew Boy Smith. Yeah, he's quite a character. I think if he probably was a little bit more focused, and he was like a mentor to me. He's like, oh, you can do things, but he always wouldn't take the lead in the races.
Right. That's what I think. He used to go out real fast.
Real fast.
And then start fading.
Yeah, it's always like top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Quite a runner.
Ronaldo, there was a Ronaldo Swan, not
Ronaldo Bean.
Ronaldo
Bean. Yes, good one. Yeah. Now Ronaldo Swan, he'd love that plug. 400-meter Olympian.
Yeah,
Ronaldo Swan. Yeah.
Can't think of any other names from way back.
Okay. And then the ladies. So Midge is out there with Debbie Butterfield, Marinette Bean, Simmons.
And then eventually Sandra Mewett appeared.
Sandra Mewett comes along, yes.
Terrific runner.
Yes.
So Sandra and Debbie had a lot of battles. Now Midge was not in that class.
But Midge also played tennis. We didn't talk about her tennis.
Well, she played a lot of tennis.
Tennis, yeah.
Played
She could beat you?
She played.
Oh, he hesitated. Oh, I like this. He hesitated. Let's hear about this great match.
That's right. Midge was very competitive. You know, Midge and I used to play a lot of friendly matches, and I would beat her honestly quite easily. And then at Commander Gate, we ended up in the ladder. First time we'd ever met competitively, and she beat me.
And she beat you.
And then we used to, when in triathlons, I was a better swimmer than her. We used to swim at Harrington Sound, and I would have to give her she would have.
You'd give her a start.
I'd give her a start.
Head start.
Yeah, so we'd finish about the same time. I had to give her 2 or 3 or 4 minutes start.
Oh wow!
But when we actually did triathlon, we started. She'd beat me out of the water. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. And those are the heydays of triathlon, right?
She did some competitive more than I had.
So Mandy, you're hearing these stories. Tennis. Who do you think was the better player?
I always remember Mom as the tennis player. I mean, she was. That's the thing. She was doing her running probably 4 times a week, but the other days she was tennising. She was playing badminton. She was doing whatever she could do. Yeah. Swimming. She was cycling.
She beat Bob in the ladder. I love it.
Yeah.
She was a bit of a Zena Jones, really. Because Zena does.
She does everything. That's right. Yeah.
I don't think Midge was quite as.
Zena played football and then go play hockey.
Yeah. She played hockey too, though. Mm-hmm.
She played hockey as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Which team was that? That's Bluebirds?
Yeah.
Bluebirds, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I come here for the interview and I found out.
She stopped the hockey fairly early, I think.
Yeah, she did it when she first moved to the
Yeah, that comes with a bunch of injuries as well. You gotta be careful in hockey.
I played a lot of hockey when I was at school,
It's good interval training back and forth. But this is wonderful to be able to talk and reflect. As I said, your scrapbooks allowed me to look back at some of the races. Marathons. We didn't cover much of the marathons. I know you said, how many marathons for you and Midge?
We both did about 10.
10. New York?
I just did New York once after my best days.
Yes. Sub 3 hours? I found
not in New York.
Okay.
2:57, that was in Long Island. Yeah.
Okay.
and Midge did 3:14, which was a good run.
Which course did she run that on?
Penn Relays.
Penn Relays.
And she'd never done better than about 3:28, and we were I didn't run Penn Relays. I was kind of expecting Midge to come in about 3.5. Suddenly, wow, there we are, 3:12, and Midge is coming to the stadium. You know? So that
Excellent,
was
excellent.
Just one of these days, it was like my 2:57, and how just everything clicked.
The marathon really challenges the athlete, and you've set some markers there. Running outside of Bermuda versus running here, what's your preference?
Well, it's nice to run outside because you get flatter courses, better conditions on the whole. I mean, I ran quite a few half marathons in New York, the Brooklyn Half Marathon and all this sort of thing, and it's just easier to get a good time up there.
You saw Bermuda Marathon through its infancy. You watched it. I believe it was 7 or 8 runners in the start.
That's right.
When did you run your first marathon here?
Probably the second. I didn't run that one with the 7 runners. I might have run the next one, though, or maybe the one after that.
And what was the impetus? I mean, I've got to think back. Running is so galvanizing now. Everyone wants to do it. Back then, you're watching, you're doing the half marathon, but 26. What's the catalyst for you? What gets you into 26?
It was just there, like
the bug.
It was there. That was just the challenge. You did what was available in Bermuda.
So it's Ray Swan, yourself. Who else is out there?
Peter Lee.
Peter Lever, of course. Jim Butterfield.
I don't know.
I know he was triathlon, and he liked to.
But
he was the Ironman. He's the Ironman. You're finishing with 26, yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
He and Gabby Wilkinson, they both ran about 2:27, and Jeff Payne.
The course here always seemed tough. When folks talk about their best times, they never reference Bermuda as where they had their PB.
That's right, yeah.
I think of guys like Andy Holden and Ron Hill. They came here, but they came here with faster times, but they didn't run it in Bermuda.
That's right, yeah.
So,
Jane Christie was something we haven't mentioned. She was a.
Well, when I think of that relay team for the women's corporate relay, Jane Christie's right there with Maria Conroy and Midge Oliver.
Jane won 24th of May a couple of times.
She did twice. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yes. So it must be something about working as a nurse.
No, to do with Carl Bean.
Carl Bean gave her great advice.
And Marinette.
Yeah, Carl Bean. Carl Bean is the common denominator. Okay.
Yeah, right,
yeah. No, like I said, running community. I've known you guys for years, and I wanted to do this interview. I said, if there's anyone that's going to sit down with you, it's myself, because I see this community. I'm coaching Mac now, and what's interesting, I'm coaching your husband, and I didn't even know it. Mandy, tell me about your husband running in my class, and I didn't even know it.
Yep. So my husband Adam, he is running at Mac Track. He's in your B train, but yeah, he's done a couple half marathons too. So he's a lot faster than me. He's looking to get about 1:30 on.
So your parents set this bar here. So prerequisite, he has to be an athlete?
Yeah, that's true. I remember when my dad first met him, they were playing table tennis, and Adam beat him. He was like, "Can this guy not be good at sports?" Or something like that. So yeah. So no, he does a bit of everything. But since being in Bermuda, he's got a lot more into running, and he loves Mac Track.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting him officially, because he's evidently been in my class. He's been in my class, and I didn't even know who he was, Bob.
He can't beat my times yet.
He can't beat your times yet. Yeah.
Why did that in such a...
Yeah.
So he's got some competition.
So you didn't marry a concert pianist, you had to marry an athlete.
Yeah, I had to marry someone who was in a sport. Yeah, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to meeting him officially.
Yes.
I'm going to close with, I am going to support you on that day. I'm going to see you out there.
Yeah.
I wish you well. Your dad's giving you all the advice.
Yep.
Tell about Burnt House Hill. And if there's a part of May 24th that you find most challenging, or Mitch found most challenging, did she ever speak of the difficulty somewhere along the course? Because Burnt House Hill is the one everyone talks about.
You say that's not that bad. That's what.
No, I said Inverurie Hill.
Inverurie Hill.
But you've just got, don't attack that hill. Just get up it and over it.
Do you know the Dr. David Saul secret to success in May 24th?
Yeah.
Drag an anchor to Burnt House Hill, and then cut the anchor, and then you can just sail into town. Remember, there's
okay, I'll take that.
It's 7 miles. It's 7 miles in. You don't want to get too excited coming out of Somerset. Everyone's going to be calling your name, going to be cheering for you. There you are, running, memorializing your mom, and you're carrying the mantle of the family. You know, and so no, I think you'll have a lot of fun. The fans, love the fans. May 24th.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, there's places you look forward to.
Changed over the years?
Tour to the lane and that.
You think the May 24th fans changed over the years in terms of, I mean, I saw pictures of crowds at the stadium finishing, but I think fans now have a more appreciation for running, although cars jamming you up on the side of the road can be somewhat disrespectful sometimes.
It's different. People don't know the lead runners like we used to know the lead runners somehow or other. There's a lot of guys up there in the top 10, I don't know who they are at all, but once upon a time.
You knew your rivals, see? Yeah. But no, preparing for May 24th, I've been made to understand that sometimes the runners are faced with traffic, people driving and pushing them on the side of the road. So as our traffic has increased, so has our interest in running. The numbers have grown. I mean, the runners, we may have 700 or 800 on the start line with you. So bit of a challenge. So I've always said to my athletes, be careful where you stand on the start line. Where did you and Midge stand? Or did she stand beside you on the start line?
We probably did, yeah.
Did you guys went to the start line together and you said best of luck and then took off?
Yeah.
We
wouldn't have been in the front row, but it wouldn't have been too far back either. You knew where you should be.
Well, the thing is, if you stand too far towards the front, this is my advice to you, you will get pushed by the wave. And if you're looking to run a 7 or 8 minute mile, you can get pushed to a faster mile because everyone's pushing from behind. So I've always said start a little bit further back and just work your way forward. But I met a guy one time walking up Fort Scour Hill, first mile in the race. I said, boy, it's going to be a long way to Hamilton from here. Yeah. He said, I got caught up, I was following the lead lady. Oh, no, bad move.
The Fort Scour is a steep hill.
So you got all the advice coming from myself, your husband, and your dad's going to give you all the tips you need. Okay. Food preparation, what she needs before the day and all that.
No, I wouldn't watch. That's up to her.
That's up to her.
She knows.
What would you guys normally eat before May 24th?
Slice of toast and coffee or something. I didn't want to
always coffee, I remember.
Didn't want to.
You always had coffee? Your mom too?
Too much.
Always coffee. Yeah. There's little things like that, and then rituals. Yeah. Folks don't want to go out of their patch. I have to have my banana, my bagel.
Just half a slice.
Half a slice,
and then half a coffee or something, I think.
Yeah. It's wise advice. Well, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come here in our show, Road to Glory. The Olivers. The markers have been set. Your mom has put that consecutive 38, 38 consecutive. I think that mark's going to stay there. Someone, they cannot miss a day of May 24th, even if they're having a baby.
Edwina's probably run a lot, but I think she's possibly missed some, I don't know.
Yeah, consecutive, that is the key. And Bob's got the scrapbooks to prove it. Thanks again. Mandy, all the best on your day. And Bob, thanks for having us in. Midge, we memorialize you with this great special. Thank you.
Thank you.